Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Here we go. This is a fun week for us as sports fans. We've got the NFL draft in Green Bay and Lambeau and Titletown. And we've got several Ole Miss players that are going to go first, second, third round, just depending on what all shakes out this week. So we welcome in NFL Draft Insider, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike Detillier joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. And this interview is presented by Sound and Communications. For your next video wall for your business or home, soundcomav.com. All right, Mike D., I'm going to put you on the clock today. Mike Detillier is the general manager for the New Orleans Saints, and everybody's partying in the warehouse district and uptown, and they're ready for a big pick. So you're on the clock. Who are you choosing for the New Orleans Saints in the first round Thursday night?
Well, it hasn't changed since February, and that's Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State. I think they go big man here. And it's either Tyler Warren from Penn State, or there's always an out-of-order selection if somebody would drop to them. But I think Warren would seem to be the perfect fit. He gives you a big man receiver at tight end. He's played all across the board, in that he's played some receiver. He's played some inline tight end. He flexed him out, used him as an H-back, fullback, halfback. He's played in the quarterback position. He was a former high school quarterback, and so they've used him in gadget plays there. So he was my selection back in February. I always think your first inclination's the best, and I'm going to ride it through with Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State.
All right, that'd be a heck of a pick. That is a talented dude. And he could be awesome for New Orleans in a number of ways, and also that red zone threat, which is what everyone is looking for in the NFL. Now, all right, Mike, how much movement, if any, do you expect in the top 5 or top 10 of the draft Thursday night?
I don't expect a lot of movement in the top 5. Really don't. I think that it's not that sort of draft. I think in years past, if that was a quarterback or quarterbacks that you were interested in, you saw it. But the price to get up there is pretty expensive. So I don't expect a lot of movement in the top 5 picks.
Okay. Do you believe that Shedeur Sanders is guaranteed to go in the top 5?
Top 5 picks in this draft?
Yes.
No. Shadeur's going to go in round 1, but he's not going to be a top 5 pick. I don't know who runs with that, and man, they've convinced a lot of people that. But Shedeur Sanders is not going to be a top 5 pick in this draft at all. Will he be in round 1? Yes, but that false narrative has been put out there for a long, long time, and that's not going to play in this draft class at all.
If you had to bet $100, does Shedeur go in the top 10 or outside the top 10?
No, he's not going in the top 10, not top 5, not top 10, not top 15.
Oh, okay.
After that, I think that there are some teams that do have an interest in Shedeur. But I've talked to no one in the league that feels as though he'll be a top. They have some teams that don't even have him as a first-round pick. So I think he goes beyond 15. Now, if it's in the 20s, I would say probably that's what you're looking at. The same thing with Jackson Dart, because one guy on ESPN had Jackson Dart as, 2 months ago, didn't have him as a first-round pick, blinked and put him to the Saints at 9. Now he's got him going, I think, 27th in the draft. Everybody ran with that too. Jackson is like Shador. Both those guys are going to be later first-round selections, but they got a lot of clicks and got a lot of talk about it. So, man, if that makes them happy, God bless them.
Do you think that Dart could leapfrog Shador?
Now, that is a possibility because I think in this draft class, more than any other, there is a wide range of opinions on how the quarterback class shapes out. In years past, I think that was a pretty clear-cut sort of row of order. But this year, that's not the case at all. Not the case. So I think there is a possibility Dart could go before Shador. Again, you're not trying to run for the presidency and win the electoral college. You're trying to convince one.
That's right. That's right.
Convince one. And so you might be able to do it, because now people lie about last year's draft class. They outright lie to say, well, we had Bo Nix in round one, and yet maybe days before the draft, had them tell me we didn't have him as a top 35 pick. So, it's, I guess, revising history. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Okay. Do you believe that, I know you've said the last couple months you believe that it will be a Cam Ward from Miami, Shador Sanders from Colorado, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss in the first round. Do you believe that someone will fall in love late in the first round and grab Jalen Milroe because of what he can do with his legs and athleticism?
I would never rule that out, but, I've got him ranked as a second-round pick. He is the fourth guy for me. And so I'm going to say it's a possibility, but I would say more likely he's an early second-round pick.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, that Jalen will go in round two. And in many ways, when I look at him, he reminds me of Jalen Hurts coming out of Alabama, not the one that came out of Oklahoma, because I think Lincoln Riley did a great job with him at Oklahoma. And he got the grinder and kind of sanded down a lot of the rough spots in his passing game. I think he finished second that year in the Heisman to Joe Burrow. And he was a different passer coming out of Oklahoma than he was when he left Alabama. I watched Milroe, and there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. At those times, Milroe coming out today, Hurts leaving Alabama to go to Oklahoma. There's a lot there. You know that Milroe's not going to give you prime time right off the bat. He's a developmental quarterback. But man, he's got some skills that I could come up with some plays that he could help me right away because of his foot speed, his athleticism. And just when you think you've got it figured out with him, I would have him play as though he's going to run the ball and then throw it deep, because that's the one thing he can do very well. He's got a good deep passing arm. He's got to be a more consistent, short, intermediate throw. His tape is maddening to watch because on his good days, he's really good. And on his bad days, he ain't very good. So, you need to be able to get the grinder and kind of sand down some of those rough spots that he has in his overall game. But he's a hardworking young man. He's smart. He really takes this game serious, and he's got some leadership skills and intangibles that you're not going to find just out and about.
Okay, Mike Detillier talking football and NFL draft. Mike, you're the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. You're picking number 12 Thursday night. Who you picking?
if he's on the board, I think Ted McMillan would be a good pick for them. He's a big receiver. I could help Dak out because of the fact he gives me that huge option that they don't have today as a big man receiver downfield to team up with CeeDee Lamb. I know Jerry has always had an inkling and a push to go for a big man. And that's always been in the back of his mind. In many ways, his thought process about round one reminds me a lot of Jim Finks when he was with the Vikings and Bears and Saints, in that the big man theory still stays in place. And offensive line would be an area where I think he may take a long look at, like Kelvin Banks Jr. I know they've done a lot of medical background on Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. Josh would most likely be a top 10 pick had he not had the knee injury and surgery and everything else that's involved with the rehab. But I think Jerry is either going to go wide receiver with Ted McMillan or go with a big man offensive lineman.
Okay. Mike Detillier on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Let's go with Ashton Jeanty, Boise State running back. Is he going to Pete Carroll at number 6? Is he going somewhere else? Tell me where Jeanty's going.
I'm a big fan of Jeanty, and I know how Pete kind of runs his offense. It's built around the running game, and he feels as though he makes his quarterback so much better if he's got a running game. So I think that, to me, would be a likely landing spot for him in Las Vegas. There has been some buzz, possibly Jacksonville selecting him. Now, if that's maybe to get some team to try to move up, could well be. But I think Las Vegas would be a great fit for Ashton. They need a playmaker in the backfield, and he would be a great complement. You know, they've spent a lot of money on Geno Smith, and so the best way to help him is to try to get him a running game going, and I think Ashton would be the guy.
He is Mike D, talking NFL draft, and it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I thought they be in the league, made an awesome move when they put this thing on Thursday night prime time. It's fun for us. Cook a steak, open a beverage, see what the 32 teams do. We've got several Ole Miss players that are going to go this week. It's going to be one of their biggest drafts that they've had in the history of Ole Miss football, including Walter Nolan and Dart and others. What about Quinshon Judkins? Would you be surprised or shocked if he's taken late in the first round?
Well, I'm never really shocked about too many things, but I've got him going early in round 2. I think the guy that may squeeze into round 1, because, you know, we've talked so much about Jeanty and Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. I think the guy that may squeeze in there is Travion Henderson. He's a big play guy, speed-wise, and he catches the ball real well coming out the backfield. And one of the things he does really well, a lot of times guys got to learn this, and I was talking to Deuce McAllister about this a couple of weeks ago, that they don't really ask you to pass block a lot. But in the NFL, they want you to pass protect. And Henderson does a really good job. So I think Travion may be a guy that sneaks into round 1. The Washington Commanders are a team that has shown a lot of interest in Travion. Figure you already have the speed element with Jaden Daniels. And now you bring in Henderson. That's a pretty good 1-2 shot there. But I think with Judkins, he's more of an early second-round pick for me. Running backs have been devalued at the NFL level. Everybody says, well, the Eagles changed things because of Saquon. Well, Saquon's and a lot of guys like Saquon walking around. I think what it really values is when you watch the Eagles and how they win is what they do up front, their offensive line, their defensive line. If anything, what the Eagles did was throw the trump card down on saying you can have all these other pieces. You need a quarterback, first and foremost. But after that, you better build up your offensive and defensive lines. If you don't, you're not winning. And if you don't believe it, the Kansas City Chiefs, with the best player in pro football today, he was mere mortal when he went up against that Eagles defensive line, and his offensive line sucked.
They were bad. I know that's been a couple of months, Mike, but real quick, I think we were all shocked. That game, Philly dominated, and, we kind of look back. I think we flush it real quick because of Mahomes and Andy Reid and Beach, and I get the way their run is amazing. But, Mike, they were dominated and embarrassed. It's almost like we were hesitant to say that or something, but not only was his line bad, but Mahomes didn't make good decisions either that night in New Orleans.
Well, when you pressured like he is, it changes your attitude real quick because they didn't try to even run the ball at all. They were always in long down distance situations. That's because the offensive line was getting killed up front. They really were. And so if I'm an NFL team, I take a long look at that. But this is sort of reminiscent. I was talking to an old coach, and he brought this up to me. And I was just a kid at the time, but he said, he harkened back to Super Bowl III when the Jets upset the Colts, and they were a 19-point underdog. They did it with Namath. And he said, I go back because he was a college coach back then. And he says, what people didn't realize was how good the Jets' offensive and defensive line were. In the fourth quarter, the Jets never threw a pass against the Colts.
Wow.
Namath won MVP, but the Jets did not throw one pass in the fourth quarter against the Colts. They ran the ball and ran the ball and ran it, and they stopped the running game of Baltimore. So I think we're in that sort of series today. We're looking at a lot of other things, but forgetting the important thing in football is, yes, you need to have a quarterback, but you better win up front. And I do think that some of that is a trickle-down effect to some teams, not to everybody, but to some teams, that if you don't get better up offensive, defensive line, you ain't winning squat, nothing. And I think back to when my old friend Joe Clark told me that about, thinking back at the Jets, and, a lot of, shine went on Namath, but it really emphasized that the Jets had done a good job building that team up front to beat a team like Baltimore, who was a 19-point favorite that particular Sunday. So I think we've sort of overlooked how the Eagles won. We looking at Hurts, we looking at Saquon. Nothing against either one. Both of them played a big part. But, man, what they got up front, they terrorized people because they are so good.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show. So there was what did you make of the noise on Derek Carr last week, Mike? How did y'all cover that and handle that?
Well, I've said for months he didn't want to be here, and he would do what he had to do to get out. And I think it's obvious he does not want to play here. He feels as though he's nothing more than a bridge quarterback. Well, so what? They're paying you $40 million. Grow up. I don't get it. And sometimes, agents put things in players' head, but for me, this is no surprise. I've seen it happen before with other guys that they feel maybe disrespected. I feel as though, I'd like for somebody to disrespect me and give me $40 million a year.
Amen.
But, I think the attitude of how he's handled things in the off season He immediately moved away from New Orleans. He didn't spend any time here at the Super Bowl. And everybody's got others trying to make excuses for him. My thing is, okay, he can go to Paris. He can do all these videos about all these, $500,000 vehicles, but he couldn't be the face of the franchise on Super Bowl week. Look who you defending doing that. He did not want to be here. Maybe that's because you want an exclusive interview with him. I could care less. I don't need it or want it. But that's just been my feeling, that he didn't want to be here. He's letting you know without actually saying it. And that as soon as you would cut him loose after June 1st, if that occurs, his shoulder's going to be fine.
Oh God! How much do they have to eat? How much do they have to eat if they cut him after June 1, Mike D?
Well, after June 1, you would get to split that salary, so that $40 million, you have 20 and 20. In essence, you still got to pay him, come off the books next year for $20 million. But the best thing is for him, he's getting his $40 million one way or another. Either he's on the team or not. He's going to get it. But for salary cap purposes, you could split that $40 million. $20 million would come off this year, $20 million in 2026. When they made that decision to go to the bank of Derek Carr a year ago to free up some cap money, you signed up in a deal because you could have gotten out after the 2025 season. You did have an out, but you decided not to and decided to go to him for extra cap money, and now you're paying the price.
Wow. We'll leave it there, but I got some follow-ups on that. We may have to have Mike D back later in the week or next week. Mike D, thank you, bud. Enjoy the draft.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, I got some follow-ups on that from Mike D. I'd do it. With the salary cap today, I'd do it. If it's gotten that toxic. If it's that toxic. Mike D is brought to you by your next video wall for your business, for your school, or for your home. Powered by Sound and Communications, soundcomav.com.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m., and this ain't okay show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
On aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Woo! Good morning, good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Thanks for making us your sports and entertainment show of choice. We're streaming live for you on the Out of Bounds radio app and thezone1059.com. Thezone1059.com. And the Out of Bounds radio app. Show is brought to you by Jackson Meadows Miami Marlins shirt. Okay, this morning. And then he's got on a black jacket, neon. Is it neon green or neon yellow?
I'll go with yellow.
Okay. It's kind of the Gatorade color.
It is a Gatorade yellow. Yeah,
okay.
It's not bad.
All right. And what's the logo on your left arm of the jacket?
This guy?
Yeah.
This Flight Series.
What is that?
It's a North Face Flight Series.
So is that like skateboarding?
No, I think it's pretty good. You know, they climb. When they're up on the mountain, you know, it gets because it's, you know, it can get, whether it's really cold or not, once you get high up on a mountain, you're right beside the sun.
Okay.
So this is the move. That way, you know, you don't get
Oh, this
burnt.
is for rock climbers?
Yeah. Either that, it's a perfect beach shirt. Because it's light, it's still breezy, but you don't get burnt.
Okay.
That's why you got to wear it up there. On that
Not like the beach this time of year.
Right.
Not like in June and July
No,
when it's,
no.
you know, hotter than hell.
All right, then you shouldn't have anything on.
Right. Okay. I got it. I was like, that's interesting that you threw that out as a possible beach option.
I think I've worn it to the beach multiple times, yeah.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, during April, May, yeah.
Okay. And
June.
like October.
Right. It's perfect.
All right, fair enough. That works for me. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. A couple of different ways you can hit us up. Would love to hear from you on the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. Twitter X at BoBounds. And the Madison Ridgeland Academy caller line is 601-707-3750. You'll want to go ahead and get on their list if you have a baby. I mean, that's kind of where it is. The waiting list is long. So if you know, you may not know where you're going to be, but you want to go ahead and get a deposit down, take a tour of the school. Just tour the campus. 601-856-4455. Call them today. Schedule a tour of MRA. They may have two spots available right now going into next August for sophomore, junior, seniors. But with the retention rate at with what it is, then there's not going to be many options. So you'll want to call, kind of get an idea of. They'll tell you grade by grade and all of that. But it's tough to get in now. It is. We were talking about who Mississippi State could hire if Chris Lemonis doesn't win a ton of games on the way out. Starting tonight, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Pearl at the Mississippi Mud Monsters Stadium. Mississippi Mud Monsters, venue. Dogs, Rebs, and Mississippi State has dominated this. Mike Bianco would love. Mike's having a pretty damn good year.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, you know, I don't feel a lot of excitement from the fan base. People are too busy watching Lane Kiffin do this media tour, this rehab image thing, which I find fascinating. But, I mean, I think Ole Miss should go ahead and lock Bianco up for a full four-year contract.
Why not?
He's 10-8. He has 12 conference games. I mean, I figure if they trip over themselves, pull up their schedule the rest of the way out, if you don't mind, Jackson. And let's see. I know they play Mississippi State in a few weeks, but I'd like to know. I mean, Bianco, I think, gosh, you would think worst case 5-7. That's 15-15. So you're on the road, but you're a high number 2 at that. If you go 6-6, you're 16-14. Could you start to get in the conversation? Possibly.
Yeah, you round it out.
And then if you go 7-5, you're 17-13, and I assume you're hosting. Well, it's not guaranteed. Look at Mississippi State last year. And you still have the G5 athletic directors that you've got to navigate on the committee.
Overcome.
But we'll see. Do you have their schedule?
Yeah, you're going to close out. Obviously, you got the Governor's Cup tomorrow. Then they host Vanderbilt.
Okay, Vandy.
Midweek, Austin P. Then you go to Norman, Oklahoma.
Okay, that's manageable.
And then you go to Starkville for 3 games.
That's manageable. I mean, they haven't had any success against them in 10 or 11 years, but it is not a good Mississippi State team. Go ahead.
End it by hosting Auburn.
Okay, I mean, that's not easy by any stretch.
You can wiggle.
But it's 2-4-6. I mean, hell, Mike could go any number of things. 5-7, 6-6, 7-5. So I guess you could get crazy and go 8-4 on the way out, but 7-5 on the way out gives you 17-13.
That's a big one.
That's a strong, if you don't host, that's a strong number 2 on the road. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Vandy at home, at Oklahoma for Bianco, at Mississippi State, Auburn at home. That's not an easy stretch, but it's not extremely difficult either. So it's like a pretty damn challenging is how I would frame that up, Jackson. There.
Yeah,
Not crazy, but not easy. That type deal.
Right. Oh, it's highly doable.
Yeah, I mean, 6-6 is very good grief. So 6-6 puts you at 16-14. Strong number 2 on the road for Mike Bianco. That's a bounce back year. He's staying around for his 42nd year at Ole Miss. That type deal. He's never going away. Never going away. Kiffin will be long gone. Bianco will still be there.
Right.
Beard will be long gone. He'll still be there. Hell, Keith Carter, who's an alum and has more chips and equity than any athletic director right now, other than maybe Danny White and maybe Byrne. But DeBoer wasn't bad, but they're going to have to do some things in football. But I think they're going to be okay. But Byrne's pretty hot at Bama. But you could argue Keith Carter has more equity than any other SEC AD in the conference with the hires of Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard. This is just gravy for Keith. If Bianco like we think he's already done, but if he punches his ticket to a regional. Because when you're winning in football, all this stuff doesn't matter. No. Keith doesn't have to do anything. Look, if Mike was in Lemonis' spot, Keith wouldn't even have to fire Bianco because they're winning in football and basketball, and you've got the chips, and Keith can just say, "No, I'm not doing it." But they're not. They're 10-8, and they have 12 games left, and they could end up at 15 wins, 16 wins, 17 wins in conference. And everybody's good with that. Oh, on the road. If you go crazy and get hot, you may could host, but on the road as a strong number 2 could be very advantageous for you. Dancing Rabbit Golf text line. I want to hear from you, baby. We love you. What are you doing? Where are you? What's going on? What are you thinking about? The text line, 601-885-3776. That's brought to you by the award-winning Azaleas Oaks Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. Book your stay and play right now. DancingRabbitGolf.com. Back in a second. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in to the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 1059 The Zone. Home Runs for Wishes. Make-A-Wish Mississippi is proud to partner with Simmons Erosion Control and baseball players Hunter Hines and Stone Simmons for the 2025 season, and help make wishes come true by pledging to donate to Make-A-Wish Mississippi for every home run Hunter Hines hits. For more information, visit homerunsforwishes.com. An amazing organization that grants wishes for children with critical illnesses. And we want to welcome in the CEO of Make-A-Wish Mississippi, Allison Tyler, to the Out of Bounds Show. Allison, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. Glad to be here.
Well, we appreciate you you hanging out with us. How many wishes did y'all grant in 2024, Allison?
We granted 112 in 2024, and we're trying to grant 120 in 2025.
That's unbelievable.
It is, and each wish is special, though. I mean, every single child that comes into our organization, we sit down with them and do a wish discovery meeting and make it personal about them. And they can wish to have, wish to go, wish to give, anything that they can imagine. We try to make it happen.
Didn't you tell me that one wish that was granted was to the World Series within the last?
Yes. We had a guy from Meridian that his wish was to go to the World Series, and they had a great time, and it really was. It was a big celebration for them, and I'm proud to say that that child is doing well and have memories of a lifetime.
All right, so I want some other trips. Okay, so World Series, Major League Baseball, Disney World. What are some others, Allison?
So we've had a couple go snow skiing this year.
Love it.
Recently, we sent a couple of families snow skiing. We've had one that went to celebrate the Chinese New Year because he was adopted from China and now lives in the States, and he wanted to go to New York to celebrate that occasion. So if they want to go somewhere, I mean, we have kids that see the mountains and just want to go. I know we had one special little guy who was actually from around the Starkville area, and when we went and met with him, he said that mountains calmed him when he was thinking about going through treatment and everything that he was facing. So we sent him to see the Grand Canyon.
Oh.
So all over the U.S., and we can even do international travel. And if they want to do it, we have a couple going to Atlantis recently and Bahamas. Disney cruises that the kids go
Oh,
into.
that's
so
cool.
Truly, if there's something that we can offer them a little hope and joy at this time when they're going through so much, we make it happen.
Allison Tyler, CEO, Make-A-Wish Mississippi, joins us on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 1059 The Zone, and hoping to grant 120 wishes in 2025. So if an individual or a business wants to grant a wish for a kid, basically endow it, how much does that cost, Allison?
$6,500 is our average cost of a wish. So if someone's willing to give us $6,500, we love to partner them with a family. And what we like for them to do is do the wish reveal. When it's time for that child to even have their gift given to them, or they're going off on a vacation, or any wish that they have, we like to have a group or an organization come together and celebrate that child and their family and announce to that child that they're going to Disney World, or they're going to receive an electronic wish, and go on a shopping spree with some of these kids. So $6,500 is what we try to raise from our businesses and donors, trying to grant that one kid that one true wish.
So some of the trips: Disney World, Disney Cruises, the Grand Canyon, Major League Baseball, World Series, Atlantis, and more. Make-A-Wish Mississippi's mission is to create life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses. All right, Allison Tyler, tell me what is the next big event? We'll go through a couple of them, but let's talk about the next one. What's the next big event that y'all are hosting for Make-A-Wish Mississippi here in the state?
Our next big event is May 8th, and it is in Starkville, and it's our Starkville Evening of Wishes. So that's our big event that we have in Starkville. It's at the Mill each year, and we have Coach Levy is going to be our honorary chair this year. So on Thursday, April 8th, we'll all be joining that and have a big night. And what we really like to do is see those kids and celebrate those kids that have been in that Golden Triangle area and let them come out that night. And we feature those children and then look at the ones that are waiting for their wishes and try to raise the funds in that area to grant those wishes for the next year.
May 8th, Starkville Evening of Wishes. Jeff Levy will be there. Zach Selman's gotten involved. Is that right, Allison?
Yeah, Zach is a big supporter of ours too, and actually, Coach Levy's been serving as our honorary chair, and he's been having a wish kid come out to these spring practices this year, and that's been special for these kids. And that's one thing about Make-A-Wish is we like to make that whole journey a process for them. So anything like this that can add some joy and hope and take their mind away from that critical illness and all those treatments they're having to receive. And people like Coach Levy and Zach and them, they've really been inspirational to these families and these kids by just making a huge impact, not just on that one wish, but the whole journey that they're going through and being part of their family. And the joy is what it brings to these kids and giving them a little bit of hope, because a lot of these go through times that, they can't play with friends, they can't do this, they're told no a lot, and then Make-A-Wish steps in and we're here to tell you yes, what's going to make you happy, what's going to give you something to look forward to. So we're just very thankful to Mississippi State in general and Coach Levy and Zach and all their team and the sports and athletic programs for playing a part with Make-A-Wish. Yeah,
I saw some of the video. That was awesome. During spring football, where Levy was bringing a Make-A-Wish kid out, that was really, really touching. So this is May 8th. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, too, just the little boy Luke that did it, his wish was to be a bulldog for a day. So that was really special this weekend that he got to go back on campus. But last year we made his wish come true, and he got to do all kind of fun things at Mississippi State University. So when you think about wishes, it can be wish to meet a celebrity, and his wish was to be a Mississippi State bulldog for a day. That's awesome. All right, so Jeff Levy and Zach Selman also involved. It's May 8th, Starkville Evening of Wishes. Now, this event has grown, right, big time the last 3 or 4 years. Is that right, Allison? Tremendously, yes. Last year, we raised over $240,000 at this event. So this has been huge for us to cover those wishes in that Golden Triangle area and our northern part of Mississippi. It's been a great win for us, and we can see that it's going to continue to grow. We've already got great turnout, people coming, so it's very exciting. And then we have another big Evening of Wishes event coming up June 14th at the Jackson Country Club here in our Jackson market. And that one, we're hoping to raise well over $500,000 that night to fund those wishes going forward, too. So it's exciting what we're doing at Make-A-Wish, but it doesn't happen without people like you, Bo, and all these supporters that we've had and these donors. I tell people that we're our own 501c3. We're located right here in Mississippi, and we're helping children right here in Mississippi, but not possible without donors and our volunteers that work with our Wish Kids. So a huge thank you to everyone who supports our chapter and really makes wishes come true within our state. Visit the website, ms.wish.org, to get involved today. ms.wish.org. We're visiting with Allison Tyler. She's done an amazing job along with her team. Allison is the CEO of Make-A-Wish Mississippi, and all of the wishes go to Mississippi kids, right, Allison? Yes, we're granting wishes for your next door neighbor and the people that live within our state of Mississippi. And 113 last year and possibly 120 wishes granted this year? Absolutely. We would love to go over 120, but our goal this year is 120. But we're trying to get as many kids in, too. So if there's anyone listening or anyone who has someone or a loved one that's been diagnosed with a critical illness from 2.5 to 18, please let them know to go to ms.wish.org and refer these children, because we don't want to miss any child within our state. We want to make sure that we're offering this hope and joy that they need at a special time. I love it. It's a beautiful thing. Allison, thanks so much for your time today. We'll talk again soon, okay? Okay. Thanks, Bo. You have a good day. ms.wish.org. ms.wish.org. May 8th, Starkville Evening of Wishes. They raised right at $250,000 last year. June 14th, Country Club of Jackson. They'll raise around $500,000 for Make-A-Wish Mississippi. Get involved today. Get involved today. That's ms.wish.org.
Man. Good morning. Welcome in. Jackson Meadows sporting all kinds of weird stuff. I don't know what's going on with him. What hat are you wearing? Good. Key City beer. I had a Mississippi Queen on Sunday. Key City, Mississippi Queen. Death on Two Legs. Mississippi. The Mi Vida, which is their Mexican cerveza. The Mi Vida will drop here soon. And it's going to be one of their year-round beers. It was seasonal. So don't forget, it's probably my favorite, but the Key City Mi Vida, it's out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. Delicious beer. Mississippi Queen is their big dog, Mississippi. Death on Two Legs. And, yeah.
I consider myself seasonal.
Curse is their red ale. You consider yourself seasonal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Sometimes we're with it, sometimes we're not.
Right.
A lot of times we're not with it. But the summer.
I wish Jim Leland would have coached you just to, F-bomb you every other, I guess, drill and practice.
Was that before or after I go yard?
Probably after.
Because
you'd have
flipped the bat.
Yeah, you'd have showed your blang.
I don't think he's a bat flipping guy.
No, I don't think Jim Leland would have put up with that for long. Stomping on the plate. Hey, this is the big travel ball thing now. What a way we're teaching kids.
Wait, what is it?
The new this is, now you see it in the SEC and in college baseball. But it started just like the portal. It started in travel ball, 9, 10, and 11-year-olds stomping on the plate.
I hate it.
Yeah.
They get off the plate.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a sacred place.
Dude, what do you think?
Let me jump
you just said it's supposed to be a sacred place.
It is.
Home plate.
Baseball's a sacred game.
Yeah.
It is very...
I like this.
Very
This is
much so.
kind of deep thoughts from you on a Tuesday.
Dude, I love baseball.
You didn't
I've
have to
always
wake
loved
up
baseball.
yesterday. I did the show, and then Chuck Mullins and I carried it the rest of the way.
Ooh.
So you were able to just kind of be
Cruise control.
Today, you're a little more involved.
Yeah. Just got, I woke up, got a little fire lit under me thanks to WrestleMania
Yeah?
and the fallout from. So, it's been good. It's been a good morning.
Do you still watch WrestleMania?
I've never watched it.
Okay.
But I've been watching.
But you keep
It's
up with it on
Netflix
social
now.
media.
Well, it's on Netflix now.
What does that mean?
They do the Monday night thing on Netflix, Raw. So they stream it now on Netflix. So it's free for everyone. Well, if you have Netflix, you can get it. So it's on sometimes whenever I'm perusing, and I forget. I will say, I forget just how good of a show they put on. It's an incredible production.
It absolutely is.
It's wild.
They very much understand the sports and entertainment.
It is absurd.
Yeah, professional wrestling understands exactly what they're doing, who they're targeting,
Golly.
bringing people on. You want to bring as many people underneath the tent as you can.
They're
Hell
so
yes,
good.
they do.
They crush it.
Yeah.
That's the number one most socially viewed event ever.
Doesn't surprise me.
1.1 billion views in less than 48
I was
hours.
hooked at 9, 10, 11,
Oh, yeah.
12 years old.
For sure.
Yeah, I did it all.
They don't ever not sell a place out.
Everywhere
they go, it's packed.
Absolutely. There's
Almost 20,000 every night.
Yeah.
Everywhere they go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, McAfee.
You should have been a manager.
That I could have done.
Because you could have worn all this crazy, these
Yeah.
shirts and jackets that you wear. You like to kind of wear. It's like you're from Britain in the 80s.
There we go. I like that. I don't know what they were doing over there in the 80s. I'm not.
It's
still
more,
not sure
you're
where
more
Britain
into
is.
the Rod Stewart,
Yeah, I like Rod.
Elton John,
Yeah, I like him.
Mick Jagger, Boy George. Just wear a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah, put it on.
None of it matches, but
Doesn't need to.
if you do it enough, Mick Jagger wasn't worried about matching. Still isn't, but
No.
on a Rolling Stones tour,
No.
he's not. When they do the world tour, he can wear whatever, or he can wear nothing, or he can wear whatever he wants.
That's right.
And that's you. That's Jackson Meadows.
Yeah, we're going to choose to wear nothing.
Yeah. All right.
Best choice.
Best choice. So it's National Kickball Day. We covered that a little bit.
Good choice.
Fat Pat and the crew. He works at Martin's in Livingston, and they won it back-to-back years. You were the Northeast Jackson kickball commissioner this past year. I cannot believe
We pulled it off.
that you pulled it off.
We're going to do it again this year.
And are you going to be the commissioner?
Bigger and better and stronger.
Okay. Are you going to be the commissioner, or are you going to pass the torch?
We're not passing the torch. No,
Okay.
This league, the two of us that run this league, we run this thing the way it needs to be run.
Okay.
You got to have an iron fist in there somewhere.
What-
Somebody's got a rule.
Yeah. What was the name of the team that won it that I have the jersey from? Fat Pats?
Booze on first.
Booze on. That is a great name.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Booze on first. Okay.
Win or lose, we booze.
Win or lose, yeah, it says that on. So Fat Pat got me a shirt, number 1 on the back, the logo on the front, booze on first. And what was it? What was the other little thing that you said? The saying?
Oh, what is? Just went blank. Booze. Win or lose, we booze.
Yeah. And what's the name of your team?
We're changing it. It was to kick a mockingbird.
Okay.
Yeah, we're changing that.
All right. And what was the name of Emma Bond's team?
Red, white, and bruise.
Okay. Red, white, and bruise. That's a good one.
It's not bad. Yeah, they got the Paps jersey.
I mean, booze on first
It's pretty
is
good.
awesome.
Yeah, it's a solid. I mean, it's a play on the whole, who's on first deal.
Absolutely.
Which is iconic and legendary in itself.
Okay. What about, and then one is red, white, and bruise.
Yeah.
What about whole bowls?
The Miller Lights.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's named after his dog.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, his dog or his kid.
Okay.
One of them.
One of them.
One of them's named Miller.
Yeah. What? We'll have to get hold to text the show.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go with the Stella Artois text line is 601-885-3776. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show. 105.9 The Zone ESPN. Do we have the Steve Spurrier? Okay. Let me set this up. If y'all have listened to this show the last 20 plus years, there's two coaches. There's a bunch of coaches that I like and that I admire what they did. But two of them that changed the game for the Southeastern Conference, maybe more than any two coaches, and kind of made us cooler. I talk about it, and only we do it, frame it up like this. But these two guys were able to take us out, bring us out of the country bumpkin age.
Yeah.
And that is Rick Pitino at Kentucky and Steve Spurrier at Florida. And it was right around the same time. And they're Hall of Fame coaches. They're some of the best. Pitino made Kentucky a power again. And Spurrier made Florida a power for the first time. That's hard for somebody Jackson's age to wrap his brain around, that Florida was not a power. They were good at times, but not a far from a power in what Spurrier did. And he turned 80 years old over the weekend. And Spurrier was the first to, the old guard did not like him. Okay? And what, Pat Dye, Philip Fulmer, even Gene Stallings, who did a hell of a job at Alabama, putting them back on the map for several years, and winning a national title. But the old guard, the 5-2 defense, 4-3 defense, power eye. Even though I love the triple and the wishbone and watching Bond and all that, the coaches that didn't want to change, one to play in a box, one to play in between the hash marks, they didn't like Steve Spurrier. He wore a visor. He didn't wear a tie. He wore a golf shirt and a golf vest, wore a visor, threw it around all over the sideline, and threw the ball all around. And when he was beating you 48-6, he would score again with a minute left to go in the game. His theory was, even though I've got my backup in, you should play. You should be good enough to stop us at this point.
What's wrong with that?
If you're not, it's on you. He ran it up on anybody and everybody. And, of course, he came up with Free Shoes University with Florida State and Bobby Bowden. And if he would have recruited, if he'd have been dirty, if he would have recruited like Philip Fulmer and Bobby Bowden and Pat Dye, there is no telling how many damn football games they would have won. That's how good he, and Florida automatically gets players without paying play. I mean, I understand, maybe some alums once they got there, took care of business, whatever. But my goodness, if Spurrier would have been filthy,
I'd love to see him in the portal.
I mean, if he recruited like Hugh Freeze or Philip Fulmer or Pat Dye, Eddie O, Saban, Bowden, holy Kirby.
Those guys.
Dude, get out of the way.
Those guys are clean, man.
I know they are. This is, what is this, a montage? Yeah. Is that a good way to put it?
Great word.
Thank you. Steve Spurrier's, just some clips from his time at Florida and what an absolute gift he was to college football and to the SEC and sports talk radio.
We took on kind of his nature.
This is Chris Story.
That cockiness that he had.
And we loved every second of it. People, they called him arrogant, cocky. It's just coach, man.
It's a confidence. It's a swagger before anybody was really using the word swagger. Now it's overused a little bit, but he was hashtag swagger.
They're playing Oklahoma State. Well, they kill him. And after the game, Spurrier goes, "Yeah, we knew they weren't very good." And I'm like, whoa, honesty from a coach?
At times you say stuff and it speaks of vanity, and it speaks of a lack of humility.
Ego, paranoid, cocky, arrogant. Sometimes I dig at guys a little bit.
FSU, Free Shoes University, that's a low blow.
What's wrong with that?
15Z! 15Z! Oh, no!
I've been accused of saying things right after games that some people felt like was a knock to our opponents, and they were interpreted the wrong way.
Never disappointed us.
Free country, isn't it? Free country. Anybody can form their own opinion about everything. Everybody's got their own opinion. I'm not asking everybody to take our side. They can take whatever side they feel best to take.
I remember going to Knoxville in '96, went and talked to a bunch of Tennessee fans about Steve, and it was just nasty. Spurrier didn't like it, that I'd written that story. He goes, "What did you go, find some guys under a bridge to write that story?" And I'm like, "No, coach, people don't like you."
How good you like him when he making comments like you can't spell citrus without UT? Like basically saying, yeah, Tennessee's going to win 11 games, but they're going to lose to us and end up in the Citrus Bowl, and we're going to be in a national championship. Stuff like that you can't forget.
When he'd say something, Free Shoes University or something, and people would comment on it, and I'd walk behind him and go, "Well, he really didn't mean it that way." And then after a while, I realized he did mean it that way. He meant it, just the way he said it.
And they loved watching him, if not to like him, to hate him.
They're playing Arkansas in '96.
Werfel dropping back, has protection, throwing a deep ball down the field. It's caught, and it's going to be a touchdown!
And late in the game, they let their backup quarterback throw a little short touchdown pass.
He's down, touchdown!
And as Spurrier's running off the field, there's an Arkansas fan. He's running up, he's screaming at him, "You running up thug! You're running up thug! We hate you!" And Spurrier just looked at him and goes, "We like it when y'all say that."
That boy, Tony!
He's still, to this day, the most honest guy I've ever dealt with.
We're very fortunate. As I said, God's still smiling on the Gators.
I love him. Happy birthday to Steve Spurrier, 80 years old. The game, college football was boring when he took over, and the SEC was really boring. And Spurrier made it fun, man. He did. He turned the league on its head. And we went from 3 yards in a cloud of dust to changing the league. And he changed college football. Now, I give Bowden was doing some fun things on offense too, right? I mean, he had Brad Scott and Mark Richt as offensive coordinators, and I'm missing another one down at Florida State. And they did some really cool stuff. And there were a few, I mean, I've always talked about Lavelle Edwards and BYU years before throwing it around. But we were a Philip Fulmer, Gene Stallings, Pat Dye league. Terrible. And it was play between the tackles or play between the tight ends, however you want to look at it. You know, hell, you could run a 5-2 and get away with it pre-1990. Right. But definitely, you know, you were running your base 4-3. And how things have changed.
Right.
And he won a national title. You also wonder if Florida and Florida State had not had to play during that time because they were so good. What would it have looked like in the national title game? And also, what, of course, he hired Bob Stoops as his defensive coordinator, right? And Stoops goes from there to Oklahoma. But what if we would have had a college football playoff with Spurrier and Bowden in the 90s? They'd have made it every year, right? And, I mean, Steve Spurrier embarrassed Philip Fulmer and Peyton Manning. He eventually embarrassed Alabama. He ran it up on LSU. He ran it up on Auburn. He got beat by Mississippi State twice, but also ran it up on Sherrill. I assume he ran it up on Ole Miss. I don't know if Ole Miss. I assume Ole Miss caught him at least once or twice. Eli may have beat him. Let's see. Spurrier was 1990 to 2002, I think, before he took the Washington Redskins job. Still amazing that he left. He got frustrated. He felt like they had taken him for granted. I don't think that Jeremy Foley did Florida any favors because Jeremy didn't hire him, but Jeremy's a strong personality as the athletic director down in Florida. If Spurrier stays in Florida another 10 years, what happens? I mean, damnations. Do y'all realize that after the and that was a debacle, and it happens. After he goes to the Washington Redskins, he goes to the South Carolina Gamecocks and wins 11 games 3 years in a row. Incredible. Do you realize that, to me, is as good as winning a national title?
Oh, yeah.
South Carolina, he won 33 games in 3 years. That right there I think should put him as a top, even though there's all these coaches that have more than one national title, which is more than him. I still think he's a top 5 coach. I mean, you can go Saban Bear, and then there's a hell of a debate. Switzer. There's some others. You know, Woody Hayes, Osborne, I get it. Some of you may say Urban. Some of you may already have Kirby. But, I mean, Kirby's got 2 in a short period of time. He's done an amazing job.
Feels weird putting him up there, though.
But Spurrier was a trailblazer. Yeah. So was Saban with modern recruiting. So was Coach Paul Bear Bryant, with just everything that he did, changing his offenses several times to win. Barry Switzer. But he turned 80 years old over the weekend. Heisman Trophy winner, Jackson Meadows.
He was.
For the Florida Gators. Then national champion.
Right.
For the Florida Gators. And won 6 SEC titles in a short period of time. Yeah. I mean, hell, he didn't get to win one for 1 or 2 years because he was ineligible because he walked into a program that was on probation.
Won in 91, 93, 94, 95, 96, and 2000.
Are you serious?
91, 93, 94, 95, 96, 2000.
I mean, he made Danny Warfel and Rex Grossman look like, you know, top 10 first-round picks.
Rex.
I mean, that's how good he is.
Three-sport athlete.
Shane Matthews ended up playing like 14 or 15 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
Shane's from the Mississippi Delta, but eventually ended up at Pascagoula with his dad. They won it all. Y'all know that in the 80s. Buckley was there. Shane goes to Florida. Tied into Ole Miss. If Brewer's not running the whatever in the hell, not the triple, but the I can't remember the name. We've said it 100 times on the show. Man, that's one thing. Billy did a great job at Ole Miss. But because they were running an archaic offense, they missed out on Shane Matthews and Peyton Manning. There's a lot of what might have been if they were running any kind of modern offense at Ole Miss, because they were tied. You know, there was still that vault tied of men that had left, and then, you know, were still tied to Ole Miss. And Bill Matthews, Shane's dad, and obviously Archie. I mean, those were. Do you know what would have happened? I mean, they could have gone back to back. Shane Matthews and Peyton Manning over a 8-year stretch in Oxford. You talking about a dagger. Shane going to Florida and Peyton going to Tennessee with two strong ties as far as dads to Ole Miss. But, you know, Billy was running a run-heavy offense. And had already been dinged once on probation. So... and would eventually get another one. But, hey, you had to love what Billy thought. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do until, you know. But it wasn't the Notre Dame box, but it was something like that. Let's see if it's on the text line. Why I can't remember it. Oh, yeah, look, man. Florida is so good that they're still in the top in NFL draft picks even after what's happened the last 15 years. Look at this. Most NFL draft picks since 2020. Florida's
fourth?
8th or 9th with 25. It's I've always said it, dude. Give them 5 seconds, they're back on track. I think Billy's back on track.
I do too.
Their schedule's terrible, but they're still going to go 8-4. And that'll be enough to where when this thing settles down for him, because he was one of the 4 or 5 teams that drew a brutal schedule, they're about to start rolling. He figured it out. I think everybody's calmed down. They're getting big time players. Happy birthday to the man, the myth and the legend, Steve Spurrier. What do you say? God shines down on the Gators?
That's right.
Wow, unbelievable. Hey, lunch today brought to you by Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue. Go get that comeback burger in Dogwood, Flowwood, or about a dozen of them for the office with onion rings. Comeback burger from B3 Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue in Dogwood, Flowwood. See you tomorrow.